In this video, we're going to cover some tips and tricks for the editor interface, such as multiple panels, locking the details, setting the default map, as well as editing the default game info. So let's go ahead and look at this. Multiple panels is something that's pretty common in most things, and they're accessible inside of the editor, except they're actually more hidden than you would expect. Now, what do I mean by that? You can actually duplicate certain panels, like the details panel and the content browser, but you wouldn't just like right click and open them. You'd have to go up to the window, and then you actually have under details and content browser the ability to have multiples. Now, what might we want this for? Well, let's say the content browser will open up another one. We can dock this up here so it's up top. Hell, you could dock it over here so it's outside the way and doesn't get closed. And then you can change the view options. So let's make this one into tiles. And let's say this one we only want to be textures. And then we'll go ahead and just increase the size a little bit. And there we go. We have a nice visual picker for all of our materials that doesn't mess with any of our other things. So we could go in here. We have the ability to choose any of these. Keep in mind you can easily assign materials and such based on what you have chosen by using this one. Use selected asset from the content browser. So if you have the appropriate thing selected, you can go over here and check this arrow and it'll fill it in. Obviously I don't have a texture or material selected, but that's how it works. And you can have up to 4 of those, and you can have up to 4 detail panels. Now, why would we want multiple detail panels? Well, let's go ahead and open up a new detail panel. And I've got mine docked actually up here behind the modes. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, this is kind of silly. Well, it's silly until you actually realize you need it. Let's say I have this cube here, and I've got certain settings down here, maybe for the collision settings. And like we can go like this, and we have all these settings right here. And I want to make sure this cube has the same settings. Or I have an issue and they're different, and I don't know why or what's causing the problem. Well, I could click here. Okay, let's see, I need to go to here. Okay, those are block. Those are block. And go back and forth. Or you can lock the detail panel, and you can lock any of them. So let's say I want to use this as my master version. Up in the top, under details, is a lock. It locks the current selection into the details panel. You can do it on any of them. So let's select this one and lock it. You'll notice it now shows that we have values of like 315, negative 380, and 120 for our location. Hell, we'll just name this one cube 2. Now we know for sure it's that one. Now when I click this cube over here, we're going to get the appropriate one that is not locked. So over here it's cube 2. Over here, apparently I named both of them cube 2. That doesn't help. Let's do cube 1. There we go. Now we have cube 1 and cube 2. And you can see over here on the right, it's going to show me whatever I have selected. But no matter what I select, the left one is going to be locked to whatever instance I locked it to. So now I can easily go down and we'll grab our custom. We can see all of our presets here. Then I can go over to this one and I can easily compare them. And I don't have to worry about tabbing back and forth. This one is locked to that instance of cube 2 and will never change. So that's helpful if you need to compare 2 different things and you don't want to go back and forth. Open up a new detail panel, lock the current selection, and then you have that available at all times. You can always use this for reference, for example, as well, and you can dock it wherever you want. Now, one thing that's common is when the game first starts up, it's going to assign itself some default maps. If we go to project settings and we go to maps and modes, these are your default settings. Now your default settings will be probably something like, I don't know, I've already changed mine so it really doesn't matter, but you're going to have default maps. These are going to be the ones that came with the engine, and it may not be and probably isn't the map you want for your game. Now since the editor, whenever you hit play in the editor, will play whatever map you currently have loaded, you may not realize until you go to build out your game that it's not actually loading your game's menu or the game level. So you want to set those in here. And the nice thing about that is you have 2 different ones. One is the editor startup map. So whenever we start up the editor, this could be your test level, for example. And then you have the game default map. Whenever the game's built and cooked out and you play the game, this is the map that will load up. Now, let's say you've built your game and you're thinking to yourself, well, why is this still got a weird name? And I don't have an icon, and you know what? I really want to finalize this and make it look better. Under your project settings, under description, you have these options. You have the ability to set things such as your publisher names, about your game, project names, and things like that. And then down here, you have the display title for when the game's running. So when it's running in Windows mode, for example, my awesome game, if we were to run this and go to play standalone game, we'll go ahead and save it out. Once it plays it, or for example, your built game, you're going to find that in your title right here. So that's how you'd go ahead and set up those settings. Now, if I can exit out, stupid thing. Yeah, I knew that was going to happen. I hate that. Kind of forgot to build in a close button. That didn't help. So in addition to that, we have at the bottom our different. These are the platforms that we can build out to. Now, if we go to Windows, for example, or Macintosh, this is when you'll find things such as your splash screens, the screen you saw that started up when I hit play, and your icons. Now you have a few built in, and you can adjust them to yourself. This is what you're going to want to change for your final version, so that way you have a icon for the game, for the executable, and then your splash screens when it starts up are something more customized. You can throw in a picture, an image, or whatever you want. But under platforms, and then the platform you're building to, that's where you access those options for the game settings. And that's it. That was just a few quick tips and tricks to help you out with the editor interface when you're working in a quick release structure like for a game jam, and hopefully those were helpful.